I love what you were saying about profit can also come with service, right? I think sometimes we think if I serve, then I have to give it all away, right? And I have to be a doormat, right? I think that they can come together.
Absolutely. I mean, and actually applying those principles of servant leadership actually make that happen. It makes profit happen. So if you're concentrating on just providing service and value first to your customers, you're going to create more loyal customers that are going to stay with you for a longer period of time, right? If you apply those principles with the people that you collaborate with, those are going to lead to more opportunities because they're going to come to you with more projects. You know, if you treat your people, if you have staff, if you focus on serving them first, they're naturally going to follow your leadership, right? Because you're bringing that value to them and they're going to be more productive and you're going to have less turnover. I mean, it seems like a no-brainer, but I don't know why every business isn't run that way, you know, honestly.
Welcome to today's episode of Heart of the Hustle. I am here with Mark Neace, and we're here to talk about all things servant leadership and video marketing. So excited to have you here.
Thank you. It's great to be here. I appreciate the opportunity.
Of course. So tell us a little bit about you.
Well, the reason we're talking about servant leadership today, it kind of goes back to my childhood, actually. I'm the son of two preachers. So my biological father was a minister, and unfortunately, he passed away in an accident when I was really, really young. But my stepfather that I grew up with as my father was also a minister, and my parents are always really involved in their church and, you know, leading small groups, whatever church that they were in. He was an associate minister, you know, doing all those types of things. And so those are kind of the values that I grew up with. You know, they were always helping other people, you know, always involved in doing service. And so that was just part of the culture of our family that I grew up with. You know, as every kid normally does, I went through a time in my life where I kind of rebelled against that a little bit.
Yeah, we all do it.
Right. But, you know, what's interesting is by the time I got married and we moved back to the Dallas area and I started really focusing more so on building a professional career and reputation here, there were several things that happened that kind of brought me back to full circle, back around to, you know, really trying to live by and operate a business by those same type of values, right? I didn't realize it at the time, but once I started kind of looking into it and being exposed to other ideas, you know, I was exposed to the term servant leadership. I mean, it's one of those things that some people can argue have been overused and worn out, you know, but there's really not any other way to describe what the principles are. I mean, and there are principles to it, you know, it's been studied and applied in so many different ways. And so I really got interested in that. And during that process, I also became, as our family was, you know, our son was growing, I got exposed to a couple of different organizations that really kicked that into another gear for me. And one of those was scouting. So when my son was old enough, he chose that as something that he wanted to try out. And it was something that he really liked and that he really took to and wanted to do. And so to support him in that effort, I got involved as a parent as well. And, you know, I can't say enough good things about scouting and what it's done for my family and how rewarding that's been. My son is on the spectrum, but the kind of the Asperger's end of the spectrum. So, you know, very highly intelligent, high functioning, you know, did great in school. But scouting was one of those experiences that really helped him, especially when he was much younger, helped him to adapt. And, you know, being basically it sounds bad, but forced to, like, you know, communicate and work with other kids and get over their differences and participating in service together. I mean, that's one of the big things about scouting, you know, is that every step along the way, from the little guys all the way up until, you're earning Eagle Scout or even participating in other activities after that, all of those things are service focused. To achieve any of those ranks or advancements, there are service requirements.
And is that with service with people outside of scouting or
Yes,
within
well,
scouting?
both. There are opportunities to do both, but most of them are outside. For instance, an Eagle Scout project requires the youth to go and find a nonprofit organization that has a need, to work with them to design a project that can benefit them, to get it approved. Then they have to go and get their team together, assemble all their materials, get a budget together, make sure that they have everything they need. Then they have to schedule the time they're going to do it and get everyone there and manage everyone to get the project completed. And then it has to be signed off on, at the end by the organization, okay, good job, right? I mean, that's a huge project for a 14, 15, 16, 17-year-old youth, to be able to do. And it's all, so that in a nutshell is a perfect embodiment of servant leadership. But as an adult, it's allowed me an opportunity as well to take on a lot of different leadership roles that got me out of my comfort zone as well. I've done a lot of fundraising roles, but also a lot of leadership training roles. Some people don't know that for adults in scouting, there's all kinds of just incredible training opportunities. And the training is modeled off of some of the best corporate training that's used today. A lot of companies actually will give their employees time off and even pay for a couple of the courses that are offered for adult volunteers because it benefits them in their job and in their home life as well. And I've had the opportunity to actually help facilitate 3 of those courses, and they're pretty involved. 2 weekends, full days, and then there's follow up. There's a practical application piece of it that the participants have to do over a period of time. And those are all individual service projects where they're giving back to scouting in that case, right? But they have to come up with those projects that align with, their interest. And then they have to do all of those and get them signed off on to actually complete the course. So it's not just the in-person training.
Right. You don't just sit there and learn.
Right. It's the actual,
Yeah.
and again, that is actually boots on the ground doing servant leadership, right? That's required, for that course. So it's just been a lot of really great opportunities in that organization. The best thing is obviously seeing your son or daughter go through a program like that and participate and have fun, but also learn all of those values. The Scout Oath and Law is something that I used. That was my parenting, right? Anytime something happened, I was like, okay, let's talk about this. Tell me how that fits with the Scout Oath and the Scout Law, right?
Okay, tell us the Scout Oath and the Scout Law.
So the Scout Oath, I won't go into the full list of the law, but the Scout Oath is on my honor. I will do my best to do my duty to God and my country, to obey the Scout Law, to help other people at all times, and to keep myself physically strong, mentally awake, and morally straight. And the Scouts recite that at every meeting, every camp out. Those are the types of values that we want instilled in youth, right? So, yeah.
And adults, that's a great way to live your life.
Yeah, and it applies to business. I'm in the process of writing some articles, about how that, directly applies to business. And so it's fundamental, and it also embodies the principles of servant leadership. And the Scout Law is just a list of 12 different points that are all embodied in the principles of servant leadership as well. And even within the organization, people call it the National Honor Society of Scouting, but it's the Order of the Arrow. And the motto is Brotherhood of Cheerful Service is the motto of that organization. And basically all we do is almost every month we're at one of the campgrounds doing service, like beautifying the campgrounds and, making it ready for when it needs to be used, for different programming. So my son and I both have been able to be nominated for what's called the Vigil Honor. And so it's just it's just been a really great experience. And for us to have the experiences together and to have that quality time together, it's, that's invaluable. So definitely saying yes to opportunities to serve in an organization, whatever that organization is for you, it's been really personally rewarding. you know.
And how do you think it's changed the way you approach life?
That Scout Oath and Scout Law is something that, I absolutely try to live by every day. It's a lens, right? We all need those filters or lenses that we can like run things through. And so when there's an opportunity to make a choice to do one thing or another, I run it through. That's one of the filters that I run it through.
Yeah. And there's so many other types of service organizations that, in our world. I know you're also really involved with Rotary.
Yeah. So I would say on the professional side of things, that was the kind of the next step for me kind of in this journey. So it was a couple of years after my son started in scouting, I got invited to attend a Rotary meeting. And I became a member shortly after that. I'm a member of the Park Cities Club. And that led to opportunities within that organization, first at the club level to participate in service alongside other Rotarians, but also to build those relationships. Like when you're doing a service project with somebody and working shoulder to shoulder with them, I don't know of any other activity that builds like the know, like, trust factor more quickly than doing that. And you have conversations and you get to know each other. You're, typically just talking about personal stuff or, those types of things. So it's really a great way to build those relationships. And the other thing that it gave me an opportunity to do was step into leadership roles in the club and to use my talent. Anytime, they say, time, treasure, talent, right? Or the 3 T's.
So what is that again? Time,
talent, and treasure. So if you're going to participate in an organization, you need to be prepared to at least one of those. And most organizations want all 3, right? But I mean, if you're going to, it only works if you commit to being involved and actually engage and, and get in there and say yes to, some of the ask, because that creates the opportunity. So I've been fortunate enough to be able to serve on the board for going into my 5th year on the board of directors now, and I'm in charge of the public image, which is basically the marketing side for the club, and we've made a lot of great improvements there, and it's helped raise awareness of what we're doing in the community. We do great work. Our club, our 3 strategic priorities are hunger, health and wellness, and leadership. We actually have a program called Legacy of Leadership for our members, and it's like 8 sessions over 3 months where we have speakers come in and talk about different aspects of leadership. And then the group breaks into 2 different groups and they actually plan a keystone project. And then together they select one of those projects at the end of the course, and then they actually execute that project. And so we've done 7 cohorts of that now as a club. I was part of the very first one, so I was one of the guinea pigs for the very first one. But it's an awesome program, and it's really valuable for our members, and provides mentorship opportunities and things like that. And now I've been able to take on some leadership roles at the district level, which is basically North Texas. So there's like 62 clubs right now in North Texas as the public image team leader. And so, I help train people that are in my position in my club all over the district on how to improve their public image and marketing, and do some training. I actually had a training last night, an online training last night. But again, the 4-way test. So have you heard of the 4-way test before? So that's Rotary's and Rotary's motto is service above self. So for people that don't know, I guess I should explain what Rotary is.
Yeah, please.
So it's an international organization, millions of members, thousands of clubs all over the world. And it is hands down, it is the premier volunteer service organization in the world. As far as the amount of money raised, as far as the amount of service projects done around the world on an annual basis. I don't remember what the highest level is, either 4 or 5-star, gold star charity for like 20 some, I think it's like almost 20 years running. I mean, so like if you want to support an organization with just your treasure, I mean, the Rotary International Foundation is hands down the best run foundation in the world. One of the big things that we're known for is the drive to eradicate polio. And so Rotary International, in concert with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, has put billions of dollars into vaccination programs. And we're down to I think it's under 10 cases. It was under 5 in the world. And those are all right along the Pakistan-Afghanistan border that is basically governed by warlords and, that type of thing. There. And it's very dangerous for the NGOs to get in there. And also they are some of the bad actors there. They tell the people that they're actually giving them the disease, or they will threaten, or sometimes they've even killed some of the aid workers that are trying to get in there. But that's kind of where we're at. I mean, so polio is almost completely eradicated from the face of the earth. So that's been the main drive for the last several decades. But we do all kinds of other projects all over the world. And that's one of the cool things. It's a global organization. And so if you want to do a service project in another country, if you want to go to Africa and dig a well, if you want to go to South America and work in an eye clinic for a weekend, or, if you want to go and give polio drops to kids in India, I mean, you absolutely can do that if that's what you want to do. There are, you can partner with either clubs here that are going to do that or clubs there. And so it's a really cool experience, and it's great for business. Because at the same time now, I'm building those relationships and actually participating and serving and establishing that kind of credibility and validation with a group of people who are also business owners. Mm-hmm. They know other business owners, right? And so, I mean, I have tons of stories about, it doesn't happen overnight. It's like anything else. You have to say yes. You have to show up. You have to put in the time. Not with the end goal in mind of necessarily growing your business. You do it for the service aspect of it. But I can tell you that it has hands down helped my business, over time as well, with direct referrals and introductions, and even direct business with people that are fellow Rotarians.
Yeah, I think the people who are Rotarians, as people in the Rotary Club call themselves, there's a connection between them, right? You can tell the difference, the level of respect and admiration they have for each other. So usually when someone refers someone they know in Rotary, it's done with a little bit of a different type of depth.
Right. And we strive to live by a code of ethics also, getting back to the 4-way test. So the 4-way test is of the things we think, say, and do. First, is it the truth? Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third, will it build goodwill and better friendships? Fourth, is it beneficial to all concerned?
All right, wait, say that again.
Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? And is it beneficial to all concerned?
Again, another great way to live your life, let alone run your business.
Yeah. So, truth, trustworthiness, absolutely. So anyone who is a Rotarian, if you're not a Rotarian, if you have no desire to become a Rotarian, you should seek out Rotarians to do business with, right? Because they are supposed to be dealing from a position of honesty and integrity and, win-win-win situations. And so that's, again, when I'm doing business with someone, that's the filter that I use in my professional life. When I'm doing business with someone, when I'm choosing who to do business with, if somebody isn't truthful right off the bat, right? Sorry. Not wasting my time, but so it's not only something that I strive to emulate on a day-to-day basis and to live by, it's also a filter on the other side of deciding, okay, is this somebody that I really want to do business with, associate my brand with? Those are all very important things, as well, as we all know in today's digital climate of everyone being a reporter, right, with their cell phone. Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah. How has it impacted the way you do business?
It's really made me focus on those principles of servant leadership. It's finding a win. It's not always about profit. It's about the people that you work with as well. I mean, somebody can focus on profit if they want. They can make a ton of money, hopefully be able to sleep at night, but that's not a sustainable business model, right? I mean, even before I got involved in scouting, I've always been a proponent of sustainability and, those types of principles as well. And there's a concept that was developed many, many years ago. I'm not sure how many years ago or by whom, triple P business model, people, planet, profit, right? There's a way to make sure that all three of those things happen, and then that's a win-win-win for all the stakeholders that are involved in whatever it is, right? So, that's one of the basic tenets. We always try to help everyone we can. We always try to work with everyone we can, especially nonprofits and startups. I mean, sometimes they don't have the resources. We try to do what we can at any given point in time. But, at the end of the day, if our client isn't winning and if we're not winning, at the same time, then, there's imbalance in that relationship and it's not going to last. It's not going to be sustainable. So that's really the main way.
I love what you were saying about kind of profit can also come with service, right? I think sometimes we think if I serve, then I have to give it all away, right? And I have to be a doormat, right? I think that they can come together.
Absolutely. I mean, and actually applying those principles of servant leadership actually make that happen. It makes profit happen, right? So if you're concentrating on just providing service and value first to your customers, you're going to create more loyal customers that are going to stay with you for a longer period of time, right? If you apply those principles with the people that you collaborate with, those are going to lead to more opportunities because they're going to come to you with more projects. If you treat your people, if you have staff, if you focus on serving them first, they're naturally going to follow your leadership, right? Because you're bringing that value to them and they're going to be more productive and you're going to have less turnover. I mean, it seems like a no-brainer, but I don't know why every business isn't run that way, honestly. And it's more rewarding, right? Personally, professionally, it's more rewarding to have those actual, genuine, authentic relationships with people and it's support, when you're deciding to do something new, right? I have a base of support now that I can go to and say, hey, here's something new I'm doing. I'd appreciate you supporting it and telling people about it, right? So, and it's not overnight. I mean, all these, everybody's talking about AI this, AI that, but, I'm kind of an old school, like face-to-face person, it's like, you need to be in a room to really, get that interaction and, and build that rapport with people. And I mean, that's one reason that I'm involved in, producing video content, because outside of being face to face with somebody, that's the next best thing, which is why that's so important as well. But yeah.
Yeah, people need to see your face. I say this all the time when I'm consulting is people buy from people.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to show that you're a person, right? And you and I were in the prep meeting for this. We were talking about being able to create, AI bots of yourself. Mm-hmm. And those are great. And I think there's a time and a place for those within an overall marketing strategy.
Yeah.
But there's also that human connection. And I'm curious, I think there's going to be a big backlash against AI generated humans, right? I think people are going to want that authentic connection. And I use AI every single day. I think it's great. It's a great tool, but I also want to make sure I have my humanity because I don't know if I can trust it to make that same servant leadership type of decisions that I would.
And I've been experimenting with some things and just putting some things out there and just seeing how people are reacting and, in the conversations that it starts and things like that. So I'm kind of, I'm still in an experimentation mode right now. And I absolutely agree. I would never suggest to a client that they rely even predominantly on those types of tools for content creation. However, I think, times and places where it can be used for specific purposes as part of an overall content mix, but the way that I'm approaching it is being completely like I did create an AI clone actor of myself. I think I showed you,
Yeah.
and I introduced it as AI Mark. I mean, I'm like leaning into it and I've seen a couple of other people now in the past week or so that I follow on LinkedIn are they're doing the same thing with certain types of content, like little short, just like educational tips and things like that. But they are also being very transparent about it. And they are identifying that actor as their avatar, their AI avatar, that's delivering the content. So it'll be interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see how the market kind of, digests and responds to that. So
But I don't think video marketing is dead
oh, no, not at all.
by any stretch of the imagination. And I know that you're an expert in that area and you work with a lot of sort of small to medium-sized businesses, helping them create video content that help with their operations, right? Just training, how do I do all of these things and make my operations run more effectively through video? Tell us more about that.
That could be one application. We do consult with our clients and help them look at content in a strategic way as far as where their current pain points are in their business. And as we are working with them to create that strategy and that content plan to address some of those things that can have immediate impacts on their business, then we are also considering the type of content that they should have for their marketing so that while we are in the production phase, we can make sure that we're capturing what we need to fulfill whatever that plan is. So as you mentioned, one application might be employee training. If there is some type of breakdown in their operations, it's obviously, a training issue, or if you're relying on a 15-year-old handbook that somebody wrote for you or that you got online, there are opportunities for a lot of businesses that, that really rely on their employees to be their knowledge base and to interface directly with their customers. There's a lot of value into potentially, maybe we should implement some new training and make that available to all the employees on an LMS type system that they can have access to anytime they want. Oh, and by the way, you can not only train them for their position or your branding or your messaging that you want them to emulate, but you can also provide as a benefit personal and professional development training courses for them as well. And, things that improve their lives, even at home and their families' lives, right? Now, that's where the servant leadership mindset comes into that. It's like, okay, let me see how I can improve their lives and serve them. Then, you're going to make an improvement in your business. It's just, it's a natural benefit of that.
And it'll help retain your employees because that's such a challenge.
Exactly. And then outward facing, maybe having a library of frequently asked questions. You survey your customer service people. What questions are you getting over and over and over again? Or what questions does it take you the longest to answer when you answer the phone? Right. So there may be some pain points or bottlenecks or something, and that directly affects your customer experience. And so we can make improvements with that by making information more readily available and easier to get and to digest and, those types of things. On the sales side of things, what kind of sales enablement tools are you providing your sales force? Right. What questions are they answering all the time? Like, what is your customer acquisition process like? Do you have that mapped out? Are you actually looking at metrics to know when people are dropping out of that and if they're ever coming back? Or how long is your sales cycle? How can we improve that? How can we speed that up with strategic content that we can, insert in those different situations? So it's not really it's not a one size fits all approach. It takes some, actual time to figure out. And then we can prioritize based on how much value that can build into the business when those things improve, right? And so we prioritize that, and hopefully we're working with someone over a period of like 6 to 12 months at minimum and you start seeing those improvements in the business over time. And oh, by the way, the marketing content is a benefit, right? That can actually bring more business in as well. So you're building value and improving your business and hopefully growing. So you experience that growth, right? There's all the side benefits of it. And then hopefully we're bringing in more business with the marketing. And then if you decide to sell your company, now you already have all of these assets that you've already developed and implemented into your business operations. So it makes your company more valuable when you sell it. So win, win, win. Right?
100%.
Right.
100%.
And so that's kind of the approach we take. And so we're really looking for opportunities to work with business owners that have that same mindset and can understand that, you know, if you invest a little bit in your operations, you should be able to grow your business from that. Right. And so, and it becomes at that point, it's an operational cost of doing business as opposed to an outlay of a marketing expense. Right. But you're still getting the marketing content as well, the way that we put it together.
Yeah, and operational implementation and systems at some point in your company growth is the only way you can grow to the next level. I'm
Right.
going through that in a big way in my business right now is, okay, we have to get to that next level of, SOPs. What do we do? How do we do it? What's that training look like? Right. So you're speaking my language right now.
Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of people don't think about it like that, and we're shifting the way that we're talking about it. I'll be the first to admit I have updates to do to our website to change some of the language and the positioning.
As soon as it's done, it's out of date.
Right. Yeah. But I've been a little bit busy on this other project, right? And so I'm trying to get it all in position, right? To be more coherent when somebody goes to check me out online, which I hope they will. So yeah.
So tell us about the new project. You mentioned that earlier.
I'm really leaning into this, to the servant leadership aspect of this. And one of the other things I've been doing recently is I'm also involved on the board of another local nonprofit organization that I just joined the board of, but I'm really excited about, and that's the Movie Institute. And so they're at the shops at Willow Bend is where the facility is, but it's basically what it sounds like, the Movie Institute. And we do after school programs and summer programs for youth where we teach them leadership and team building skills and creative writing and all of those types of things when they come in and attend programs. And for instance, one of them, there's one coming up that's the horror movie. I forget exactly what it's called, actually, and founders are going to kill me for not knowing exactly what it's called. But basically, it's like kids can come to it and they come up with an idea and write and shoot and edit their own little short horror movie.
That's awesome. I want to do it. What's the age cap?
Well, we could probably put together a group of adults. I mean, it's a great team building exercise, actually, for teams. I mean, and so they would anyway. So we have a production studio there. It's I think a 3,500 square foot production studio with full cyc wall, and then a smaller studio. And then we're going to be building out another space for a dedicated video podcast studio. But they've got makeup rooms. They got a big sound room, editing room. They've got space for 12 or 14 kids at a time to sit down at computers and do their editing and, and their animation and stuff like that. It's just a really cool, and they've been around. I've known Martha and Keith Randall Duncan. I've known them for probably 30 years. I go way back with Martha to the original DPA days, the Dallas Producers Association. Okay. And we're just getting ready to have the 25th anniversary, actually. So we're doing a big anniversary party and grand opening of the new facility in October.
That's cool.
Yeah. So one of the things I'm trying to do is run production through there. So any production companies, if you need a sound stage, it's not actually a production stage. It's not completely soundproofed yet. We're working on getting the funding together to do that. It's a big expense. But any of the production that comes through, stage rental, equipment rental, any of that goes directly into the nonprofit and supports the programs of the nonprofit. So again, this is a way, me as a producer, right? Any job that any client project that I'm working on that I can possibly use their facility, I'm going to go there and use their facility and give them rental income to help support the program. Yeah. So that's just another another thing. But anyway, what I'm doing.
And you're launching your own
Yes, and
website,
so-
right?
Yeah. And so I'm one of the things, we've had some changes in my business recently, and unfortunately, a longtime friend, mentor, business partner from the last 15 years, unfortunately, he succumbed to cancer a couple of weeks ago. But one of the things that he's really been pushing me on, had been pushing me on for the past couple of years, was to really lean into the servant leadership thing and launch my own personal brand. And so that's what I'm doing in his honor. So yeah, so we're getting ready. I've been working on it for a little bit, and we're getting ready to launch hopefully on October the 1st. That's the target date. So this is part of that, process of just, getting the word out and, really starting to focus more on doing a lot of strategy and consulting work and board advisory. I'm on a couple of other boards and advisory roles to help specifically with content strategy and, how to use video content as a complement to, certain things that they're going through that they need to improve. So, looking to do some more of that type of work, and obviously still be doing, video projects and as well. I love that part of it, the creative outlet that provides. So yeah, launching a new brand, I guess.
That's exciting.
Yeah,
and,
it is
and by the
exciting.
time this episode comes out, it will already be launched.
Yeah.
So tell us where they can go to learn more about it.
Well, when the website is up, it will be markneace.com.
MARK.
Neace. So like peace, but with an N, right? So I've been sitting on the URL forever, and so decided to finally use it, right?
It's so important to buy your URL.
It is. Tip, buy your own vanity URL, right?
I bought my son's when he was young.
I have one for my son too. Yeah,
Yeah.
I already got it. Yeah.
Because you never know.
You never know. Yeah.
I think he has a website. He had a website at one point. He wanted to have a gaming YouTube.
Yeah.
Right.
They all do
when
at
he
some
was,
point,
Yeah.
right?
When he was like 8. It's like all the 8-year-olds
Right.
want a
Yeah.
gaming
Right.
YouTube
Yeah.
and then they get bored with it. But
Right. Yeah, we went through that phase as well. So yeah, but markneace.com is going to be the website again. It may be up before October 1st, but definitely by October 1st. I'm still putting together some content for that. But in the meantime, LinkedIn is absolutely the best place to connect with me. And that's just Neace, Neace is my, how you can find me. So at Neace. And I've started putting out some content there on both on servant leadership and also on content strategy. And so I'm slowly starting to put some things out there to let people know what I'm going to be talking about. But yeah.
yeah, and it's so important because they are so intertwined.
They are.
So
Yeah.
much at the center of the way that I do business as well, right? Is it has to be a win-win for everyone. I'm never going to just sell you something.
Right. And there's a lot of executives, C-suite level people that are doing great things. They're really involved in whatever cause that is important to them, that they're passionate about, and they're making great impact. But it's kind of like me. It's like I'll tell people about Rotary. I'll tell people about Scouting because I want them to experience what I've experienced, if they desire to. But I'm not talking about that necessarily in the context of, oh, look at me, look at what I'm doing, right? Because that's just not who I am. Right. But at the same time, there are ways to bring awareness to what you're doing as part of your professional brand, right? That let people know what your passions are, what you're interested in doing. And that in and of itself can foster new relationships, new introductions, followers, whatever your objective is. Right. And so it's important to talk about it, I think. And so I'm going to start talking about it more now.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I can't wait to read more of what you're putting out, absorb more of what you're putting out, because I think it's such an important topic for anyone in business.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
and again, Mark Neace with a K and N, MARK.
Neace. Yeah.
NEACE.com. And thank you so much for being here.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much. It was a great conversation.